back home now, and the Zondo Commission of Inquiry resumes that inquiry into state capture this morning. Who will be testifying? We don't know. That hasn't been disclosed just yet. But our reporter Erin Bates has been tracking the story for us over the past months. She's back at the inquiry today and joins us live. Erin, so it's back to the grind for the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. What do we know about who most likely will be on this list of people who are set to testify?
Well, that's exactly the rub, Michelle, that we don't know at this point who will be the first witness for the 2019 hearings in the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud. But it does seem as though the testimony of this person is so sensitive that their identity is likely to only be revealed moments before they testify. Much like in the case of Brian Curran, the lawyer who was the custodian of that critical Gupta Leaks hard drive and engaged with two whistleblowers dubbed Stan and John, not very original names, but the names given to these two whistleblowers, who kept that critical information and evidence that then had to be, kept under lock and key, and is in the custody now of the head of investigations for the Commission. So as for the first witness, they're a mystery woman or man at this point, but we do understand that the first matter before the Commission this year and before Chairperson Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo is going to be of a procedural nature. So much like the first day of the hearings last year, it's going to be a lot of legalese before hearings proper get underway once more.
I mean, Erin, if we just cast our minds back to the past few months of the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, there have been some incredible moments of damning evidence. You mentioned the issue of the Gupta leaked hard drives, stuff that really belongs in the arena of Hollywood, but we were hearing it all in Parktown in Johannesburg.
Quite right, and in fact the last week was really a bumper edition of testimony. We had the likes of Mzwanele Manyi, Nwako Ramatlodi, the former Mineral Resources Minister, and then Cheryl Carolus talking about issues at South African Airways and the managerial issues there, corroborating a lot of Barbara Hogan's testimony, the former Public Enterprises Minister, who detailed what she said was lobbying on the part of Jet Airways, understood to have been with some kind of sanction or input of the Guptas, although how exactly they fit into that picture is not yet clear. And you're quite right, despite the comment of some analysts I've seen in the press saying we haven't learned much new through the inquiry, I think it's quite the contrary. Ramatlodi, for example, stating in no uncertain terms that the former President Jacob Zuma disclosed his sympathies for the Guptas, his allegiance to the Guptas in NEC meetings, and saying that they'd helped his sons Edward and Duduzane, and that when he was persona non grata, it was the Gupta family who stood by his side and were loyal friends, giving some context at least on Ramatlodi's allegations as to why Zuma found himself in what Ramatlodi called a python grip of the Gupta family. So that's just one example of the kind of revelations we've heard during the last 3 months of hearings in 2018.
You talk about the former president, Erin. We've heard so many people take to the stand and implicate him via things he said, decisions he's taken, his son's involvement with the Guptas. At this stage, given what we know and what we've heard at the state capture inquiry, there's no application by the former president to be available, to be on the stand. But might there be a subpoena, perhaps, in the future? That's certainly an option for the inquiry.
It is an option, and might being the critical word there in your question, Michelle. There might be a subpoena for the former president at some point. But of course, we know that his own party has stood firmly behind the commission. We saw the likes of Zizi Godwa coming here to stipulate the ANC's support for the process of the commission. Also, Gwede Mantashe issuing a statement on behalf of the party toward the end of hearings last year. So there's no doubt that, at least formally speaking, that the ANC, the governing party, is backing this process. In fact, Fikile Mbalula also saying he will be coming before the commission to detail some of what he said about the Guptas at an NEC meeting. But as for where the former president himself stands personally on coming before the commission to provide evidence evidence and perhaps cross-examine several people who've implicated him at this point, including Themba Maseko, who said that Zuma asked him directly over the phone when Maseko was en route to Saxonwold to help his friends, the Guptas. We don't have an indication of that, but we must remember that in the first week of hearings at the inquiry in August, Zuma's lawyer stood up and said that they want to make a meaningful contribution to the process, that they support the process, and that was the attitude and the tone of his contribution at that point, at least through his lawyer. Remember, of course, Michelle, that this is the same person who really fought the Public Protector's state of capture report at every possible turn through the courts, and in fact toward the end of last year also issued a legal challenge to a personal costs order against him from the High Court for fighting the remedial action in the Public Protector's report, which forms the foundation for these hearings. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, let's talk just for a second and very quickly, Erin, about this issue of cross-examination. We might not know who's next on this official list of witnesses at the inquiry, but certainly there are pending applications to cross-examine witnesses. I'm thinking particularly of Fakey Mentor, people like BC Jonas. And one must remember that they were testifying about events spanning over a period of years, I mean up to 10 years. Fakey Mentor in particular has been dragged on social media about certain very key inaccuracies in her testimony.
Absolutely. And we heard, for example, from the Commission last year, from members of the legal team, that they wanted to bring her back under oath before the chair of the Commission in order to clarify some points in her evidence and test some of her version of events. And there, Mzwanele Manyi is quite right when he said that people are just talking and talking and talking, whether or not you count him among those people, that we've really had sort of monologues in a way at times from various witnesses that hasn't been challenged. But for the likes of Duduzane Zuma, who was in fact here at the Commission anticipating appearing before Zondo last year and quite aggrieved, according to his lawyer, that he travelled from Dubai only to find that his matter had been postponed, or his appearance had been postponed, his order or his access to cross-examination of Fakey Mentor and BC Jonas has been granted. So it's only a matter of time before both those witnesses face a grilling, probably on very narrow issues of their testimony from Duduzane Zuma's lawyers.
All right, Erin Bates back in Parktown for us as the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture resumes today at 10 o'clock this morning, we understand. We don't know who is next on that list of witnesses, but no doubt we'll hear more once it resumes. Erin Bates will keep us up to speed on those developments.